Readiness Exercise 1984, also known as Rex 84, oddly enough aligns with George Orwell's 1984, was a top-secret classified scenario where a large number of citizens are detained in camps by the United States government. The drill gives FEMA the green light to detain large groups of people deemed as national security threats in detainment centers in the case of a national threat or big emergency. These camps are said to be surrounded with barbed wire fences facing inwards, security cameras, scanners, helipads, and even watchtowers looking over the perimeter. The militarization of the police force has expanded over the past few decades. This has become increasingly evident with soldiers and police cadets training together in exercises, and also training overseas in Israel. The police force training with the military would have been unheard of 50 years ago, but now it has just become common. This is because of the agenda to establish a one-world army to keep people in line with the authority. Recently, in just the last decade, police brutality has risen, and when the people fight back, they are detained and thrown in jail. It should be known that there are a lot of good, honest, hard-working police officers who do want to do good, but there are also a lot of egotistical cops who are maniacs. The police state is only going to be more militarized until it is indistinguishable, and this will most likely play a role in the detaining of civilians in FEMA camps. With all the recent rioting that's been going on, it does seem like there is an attempt to make order out of chaos, where on one side you have a group of these, I'd hate to use the term leftist, but I'm gonna have to use it. You have these leftist, brainwashed individuals, these cultural Marxist idiots, and then they're fighting the police, which is also militarized, so the police has to respond by becoming more militarized, and it's just a mess. And of course it all gets blamed on white supremacists who are nowhere to be found in any of these riots, but okay, that's just how it is. To my knowledge, it appears that these camps are going to be implemented for the use of housing individuals in the result of a national catastrophe, a possible Third World War or disaster, or even a flu pandemic like what we're seeing with COVID, is going to take place where FEMA will step in to help people in a great time of need. FEMA is going to offer food, water, shelter, protection, and services, such as quarantine maybe, for anybody in need. Then, slowly but surely, it will go from an optional choice in time of need to a mandatory state where you must comply or face consequences. Now, I live in Washington State, and Governor Jay Inslee just implemented this rule where you have to wear a mask. Every individual in the state has to wear a mask, or they will face up to 90 days in jail with a $1,000 fine. If that isn't tyrannical, then how are we defining tyrannical at this point? Whoever poses as a threat to this one-world regime will most likely be seen as a threat in the eyes of the rulers, and those individuals will be placed into these camps to be disposed of. Anyone opposing this one-world system will not be a part of it, and that is by any means necessary. There is an agenda at play. We should not underestimate the lengths that the rulers of our world will go to in order to establish their one-world order that they've so desperately been working towards to achieve. Honestly, I find it highly plausible that these camps are intended for those like myself and millions of others who are free thinkers and are not going to go along and conform with the one world system. As of right now, all we can do is try to wake up as many people as possible, and we can hope to make a change. And by the way, just to clarify, I'm not trying to scare anyone here. Okay, I'm not trying to freak anyone out by saying that if you have a dissident voice, you're going to be put in a FEMA camp and killed. I'm not trying to scare anyone. I'm just pointing out that this is an agenda. It's a documented agenda, and it seems to be a plan that they have. So, I'm just trying to get the information to you, and we need to be aware of this and understand it. So if something like this does happen, we will be ready.
What we are witnessing all across America and the rest of the world right now is pure chaos. People are sitting in their homes right now, watching the news, or driving somewhere in their car with the mask on, listening to the news on the radio, and they're in a state of fear. They're angry. They're scared. They're everything the puppeteers want them to be. What we see going on is all completely orchestrated. This is an old trick used to gain more power. From Pearl Harbor to 9/11, history, or his story, is littered with instances of governments using alleged terrorist attacks to justify invasions or suspend civil liberties indefinitely. Order out of chaos, an occult motto of which the vast majority of the world have never heard before, is in fact the motto and creed of the 33rd degree of Freemasonry, a secret society of which almost all our political leaders, both past and present, are devout members, and if not, they still fall in line with the agenda. It doesn't matter. The trick of creating chaos and then seizing power under the pretense of putting things back in order is a tried and true method of deception and manipulation. It's also referred to as the Hegelian dialect, after the philosopher George Hegel, who wrote about its effectiveness. He described it as thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. Others have described it as problem, reaction, solution. In that, firstly, you create the problem. Then secondly, you fan the flames to get a reaction. Then thirdly, you provide a solution. The solution that they wanted to achieve in the first place, but wouldn't have been able to achieve under normal circumstances. George Orwell described it as reality control. In his book 1984, he said, "The rocket bombs which fell daily on London were probably fired by the government of Oceania itself, just to keep the people frightened."
All across the world, there are deep underground military bases that have been built for various purposes. As of most recently, it has been estimated that there are nearly 140 active underground military bases in the United States alone. There are anywhere up to 15,000 worldwide, spanning across all the different nations. These deep underground military bases are better known as DUMBs and are referred to as such by many insiders. Millions of dollars are being spent to build deep underground military bases, and these sites are top secret, and the average citizen is not allowed to know what goes on inside. I find it plausible that these underground bases are sites for the ruling elite of our world to retreat to when they've created chaos on Earth through the means of war and death. It would make sense that these underground sites are places for the high ruling elite to go once they've created mass chaos to complete their new order. There could be multiple purposes for these DUMBs and their creation, but whatever they are, I don't think these things are being built across the world for the interests of the people. There are thousands of deep underground military bases being built everywhere, and I have come to believe that these bases are designed for the protection of the true powers ruling our world. We already know that there are multiple bases built for the presidents, which are no more than puppets, so the idea of these bases being built for the rulers makes sense. Another thing worth mentioning is the America 2050 mega regions, which you can go to america2050.org to find them. This details the railways that will be built and are being built to connect the separate regions of America by the year 2050. It seems quite possible that there are underground railways already in use and constantly being built, and the main goal is to connect all of the different deep underground military bases together. High-speed railways built through tunnels to connect all the underground bases and sites beneath the United States. Not only is it efficient, but it's actually quite useful. These psychos building interconnected underground bases makes everything easier for them. But of course, it is not in our best interest at all, and it ties into their one world agenda.